What is up, my ninjas? I am Strydent and welcome to another video. Today we are going to be taking a look at the Mcfarlane Arkham City Batman. Initially what I was going to do is just talk about the whole wave, but with the passing of the irreplaceable Kevin Conroy, I just figured, you know what? I'm going to gush about this Batman figure a little bit more. Not like the two things. I mean, this is a role that Kevin Conroy played, and he played it all the way to the end, which was awesome. It's, in my opinion, all the movies need to follow, like forthcoming movies need to follow Rocksteady's blueprint. Fix a couple other things because there's some story elements of the Arkham games that are just dumb, but like it's the best, like almost most complete version of Batman that we've ever had. And it sucks that, I mean, next to the animated series, and it sucks that like these movies, you have these writers that miss the point and they keep trying to do their own thing, and you know, it's like, just stop. You know, it ain't broke, it hasn't been, just use what you got, you know. Paul Dini wrote everything except for, or was involved in the first two games, and that's the stories were the strongest. You know what I mean? It's like you need what you need. I mean, yeah, you had Kevin Conroy doing the heavy lifting, but that team brought Batman to life better than we've gotten him in any of the movies since probably Keaton, you know, and since the animated series, he hadn't been that good. So anyway, this figure here, I think, does a good job embodying, you know, Batman very well. And of course, you know, I had to do the custom cape. I will show you a couple, actually, here's some before and after pictures just so you could see. I had to. As soon as I saw him, I was holding the figure and I was like, you know what this figure needs? He needs a custom cape, because without it, that cape is just static and it kind of sucks. I mean, McFarlane capes are beautiful, don't get me wrong, but they need that extra punch. And you know, I plan on getting another one and putting a like a wired cape, like an action cape on him, so that I can have, you know, like a stunt double Batman. This is the one that does the work, and the other one gets to pose in the cool, you know, action poses with the cape doing all what it does. Because this cape that I put on is not removable. It is now part of the figure, but you see it drapes perfectly, you know. I did a couple things differently from how I normally do it. I didn't cut the cape as low. Normally I cut that V super low. This time I wanted to keep it up top so it has a cowl piece like it's supposed to, but it works when you see it. I mean, that's Batman. So first things first, I'm gonna, you know, show you the good, the bad, the ugly. Depending on how well this video does, I will continue and do the rest of them. Something that I wanted to point out too is, remember I said I wasn't getting any more Batman figures, remember? I said that Keaton Bats from Mezco would be my last one. Okay, we're going on year 3, and still nothing. Then McFarlane drops this, and I missed out on the first one, so it was like, yo, this is a no-brainer. So I jumped in and I got this. Now, either before or after this, I think it'll be after this video, I will drop the Off Our Brains. It's a two-parter that me and ODC did a couple weeks ago, just talking about McFarlane in its entirety, because we both went all in. Because if you remember, way back in the time, me and ODC, we bonded and became friends over our love of the DCUC line. Now, what was that? 10 years, some change later, we got this stuff. You know what I mean? More DC stuff that looks amazing. And it's wonderful to sit down and just geek out with this stuff. So you're going to be seeing a lot more of us talking DC stuff from McFarlane. You're going to see a lot of, you know, comparisons and reviews and blah, blah, blah. And Yeah, it's fun. It's a happy place for us. So you'll be seeing that from us. But anyway, let's get on with this review. Knuckle up, people. So when I first saw this figure, I was like, thank God that they're doing another one because I missed out on the first one. And, leave it to Toddy Mac, Uncle Todd, to make a quality figure with, I mean, it's not perfect. And, I hate that people say that so much, but it isn't. It's got one vital piece that it's missing. But the fact that he's given us a second chance and he's improving things as he goes along, I just wish the improvements were a little bit farther. They went a little bit farther with the improvements. But this is a pretty damn good figure. He looks great from just about every angle. He's extremely on model, which is what blew me away. A lot of people bitched about the lack of paint on the figure, but I don't feel that it's necessary for you to really drench this guy in paint when you can do the job with the properly colored plastic and then the good lighting. As you can see in these pictures, very basic. I think I have three. I do have about three lights set up, and you get the same effect. You know what I mean? You get the same effect. Um, he just looks good. He looks good in motion. People talking about, oh, he's missing Marvel Legends points of articulation. Does it look like he needs it? I mean, be honest. These poses look just as natural, if not more natural, than what you get with your Marvel Legends. So, the comparisons need to stop. Just, you're not in Marvel Legends territory. Let's just talk about this on its own. He looks great. He looks great. He moves great. The first impressions of the figure were pretty much what I ended up with. The only thing I knew I had to do that it wasn't going to offer stock was a cape. I was like, yeah, I'm custom caping the shit out of this figure. And as you can see, it only helps. It's a Batman figure. Almost all Batman figures should by default come with two capes, a drape cape and then a posable, cape with a wire. But it's a pretty amazing look. Sculpt wise, this guy is amazing. It's the same details as the previous one. I think things are a little bit more crisp. His face sculpt is definitely more on model than the previous one. The previous one was too bird faced. Um, Overall, though, he does not have a lot of paint on him at all. But as you can see, like profile looks good, head on he looks good, 3/4 view looks good. Everything it's on model. The cowl looks great. It definitely lends itself to you making a custom cape or applying a custom cape should you buy one. Um, he's got that huge upper body and then the moderate legs. He didn't quite skip leg day, but his legs aren't as defined in the armor as his chest and stuff are, which is on model. I mean, he was Diesel. Don't get me wrong, and the figure looks Diesel. It's just not as pronounced as it is on some of the other figures. But with this custom cape, it really adds to the I don't know the volume of the figure. As always is the case with custom capes. Paint, like I said, it's minimal paint, but if you look at his knuckles, they did paint in the knuckle dusters. I'm not sure if on the previous one they did the same thing, but it looks good. It looks good. It adds that little piece. And as you're looking at these parts, you can see what I was saying earlier about the fact that they didn't really go ham on the paint. You don't really need it as long as the base colors are there. You know what I'm saying? And the base colors are there. And as long as you have enough detail, when the light hits certain parts, you get gradations, or the different shadows, kind of making things more or less pronounced, like this light texturing on his tricep, and it's also on, and I'll show you it in the next picture. You can see it on his side, you know, near his ribs. It all lends to what you know from playing the game. This is what he looked like, so it all fits. And then that's what you want from a figure like this. Now, I like the articulation done in the classic sense just as much as everyone else, but I like posing the figure and letting you see what he's capable of more so that you can be like, oh, he can do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You know what I'm saying? Instead of me only doing the standard, stand him up like this, sit him down like this, let me show you the joint here and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to do both though. So, everybody gets a little bit of something. But you can see you can take a knee properly. I mean, it's not as good as I would like because you know that with our with McFarlane figures, they're hit or miss with their torso joints. They don't always bend forward or they bend back better than they bend forward. So yeah, and please, excuse my dog in the background being a fucking idiot. He barks at everything and anything. But um I don't know. He moves well. He moves really well, as you can tell from the pictures. I mean, he moves perfectly well. I mean, everything I needed him to do that Batman does, he can do with no problem. You know, even turning his head. Again, they finally went back to putting the head atop the neck joint. Shoulders move really well. Um, it does bring me to the one issue I have. Okay, so he's got good articulation, especially in his shoulders. He's got your regular upper shoulder bicep swivel, but he has a single jointed elbow. I don't understand this. Um, you get just about 90 degrees, but not a lot over it. Um, Also, the bicep is like the bicep swivel is like super tight, so for some reason you get that kind of rubbing right there where the red is. But like everything else moves the same. His wrist is the same. The problem with the wrist though is that the cuff or the little arm guard is so big that you don't really have a lot of room to move his hand around. They should have cut like curves in there. But anyway, like why do this? You had the Page Punchers Batman, which came right before this one. He's got it, and he's got a clunky kind of armored suit. I mean, that's kind of an ugly elbow, but you can make it work. You know what I'm saying? Like that. But like, I just don't understand why they omitted this because like Batman is an agile dude. You need that. Even Penguin got this shit. Like, why did they just not improve that? It's just one extra piece. But anyway, getting back to his articulation, his head moves perfectly. I don't have any issues. He can look up that much. There's no issues there. Looking down is not much of a problem. And then if you use his torso, upper torso, in conjunction with the head, you can make him look down even more. You got some tilt going on. I mean, it's really good, usage of the ball joint. It's just that there's always something that I'm seeing with a lot of these figures is there's always one direction that was omitted in the range of motion area. You know what I'm saying? Like he can lean back really far, but he doesn't really lean forward very much. You can twist his waist perfectly. That's not a problem. His waist twists just as perfectly as any other figure, both using the diaphragm cut as well as the lower waist joint. Kicks. So kicking forward, this is how much you can kick. You can force it. Sometimes that warps the crotch area because it's soft. But like side kicks and such, forget about it, man. This dude can kick with the best of them. I was surprised too, because this is a more complicated hip joint. It's not just a ball socket joint. It's kind of like a hinge. It's a series of hinges and swivels, but it works really well. There's your side kick. It's fairly high. If you want him to get a little bit higher, like you saw, you can do that. But he can hold this. I had nothing else holding him up except he was just plugged into the stand, and it looks good. The kick looked effective. You know what I mean? It looked official. I was like, damn, okay, I like this. So kneeling is where you have issues because again, if you don't force the hip joint, then he just doesn't kneel deeply like a regular kneel. You can make it look official because I've knelt in some work boots that didn't give at the ankle, so I had to have my foot up like that. But it's one of those give or take type situations, and I'm sure there are a couple other Batman figures from McFarlane that can actually kneel properly. But like I said, it's not too bad. I mean, you know, how often are you really going to have him doing this? Now, what is strange though is, like I said here, how people always complain about the lack of the thigh swivel. I mean, it doesn't really matter here, you know. But there are some other things he can do, like perched up on a fucking building. He can do that with no problem. That extra bit of foot articulation or toe articulation goes a long way. And he can actually balance, like he's balancing on there without anything else holding him up. I think the cape is serving as a little bit of a counterweight, but yeah, you can finally have him do this stuff. And this is a $20 figure. And I've noticed that, like, on a lot of other reviews, people are spending so much time on the things that it can't do, but they're ignoring all this stuff that it can do that you just can't do with most other Batman figures that aren't import figures. So, I mean, there's a huge plus that adds to the level of articulation on this figure, which is really good. All right, so accessories. Homeboy comes with next to nothing, just a grapnel gun and his trusty stand, which often a lot of McFarlane figures tend to need. Now, the grapnel gun's really nice. It's exactly what you saw in the game with the grapnel claw actually attached to it. What I like is that it's a very I don't know, it's a versatile design. It's easy to get into their hands, get out of their hands, and then also we got this before with one of the older Batman figures. I'm trying to remember which one it was. I think um, it may have been the Page Puncher one, and if it's not the Page Puncher one, then it was I don't know. I can't think of which other Batman it would have been. Um, but I have more than one of these things, and it's kind of nice. This is one of the benefits of collecting the various figures from McFarlane, and this is one of the benefits of collecting Batman figures in general. Is that after some time you do build up an arsenal. Now I know this isn't an argument to excuse what's missing in this case, which would be like a batarang or something like that. But I mean, when you look at it, at least you're getting something of roughly the same quality as what you've gotten before. But like I said, if you've been collecting Batman figures for a while, especially from DC Collectibles, which they did a ton of Arkham Batman figures, then you may have another series of weapons, between the Arkham Knight Batman. Maybe that's the one that I had the grapnel gun from in the past. But that large grapnel gun came with him, and so did the one of those batarangs and the explosive foam, explosive gel gun. Um, you end up with a lot of stuff. I just put that the BVS Batman grapnel gun um, just to see, to show you the. I don't know why I'm at a loss for words all of a sudden. Just to show you the scale in comparison to the one that you're getting. So like I said, after a while, if you've been collecting things in the same range, then you end up with a bunch of Batman weapons. I have so much more, but these are all the ones that were along the lines of what you would use in the Arkham games, especially like Arkham City and stuff. Let's compare. So I wanted to give you a good look at the whole wave. This is everything, including the build a figure, collect and connect, whatever you call him, mega figure. I mean, he's not quite a mega figure, but you can see there's a nice assortment of heights there, despite all the complaints about proportions. Then here's him with some other DC related figures and then a Spawn figure because I figured, why not? Um, Here he is next to some random other DC figures from McFarlane and a DC figure. You can see that he's not the biggest, but he is a pretty big, big dude. And he scales well. Now here he is next to some DC Direct or DC Collectibles figures, a DC UC Collect and Connect, and then the Bane Mega figure. I think he scales just fine. It looks he looks appropriate. You know what I mean? He looks appropriate. Another area that's not really touched on a lot in most of the reviews that I've seen is how much fun this figure is. You know what I mean? Like, can you play with this figure? Can he do the Batman ish things that you need a Batman figure to do? And the answer is a resounding yes. Even with his limitations, I mean, you can see just from these pictures, there's a lot of fun to be had with him. Ra's al Ghul's another one, which, I will be getting to. But this is one of those figures that, like, fully encapsulates all the things that I need for my Batman to do in the same way that the Page Puncher Superman does, and, like, kind of does it above and beyond the Call of Duty. This Batman does it, competently, And then, like I said, if you've been collecting Batman figures, which, come on now, most of you watching my videos, if you're watching this review, this isn't your first Batman. If it is, you got in at a good time. But the majority of you, I know this is not your first Batman. Um, you guys have a bunch of accessories to give to this Batman to make him more Batmaned up. And I think that's where he shines. It's like it's a nice addition to your collection that you've already had for a while. It blows the DC Direct superposable one out of the water as far as his posability goes. It blows the Mattel one out of the water. I should have actually done a comparison, but you already know he's going to blow him away size wise and sculpt wise and everything. So, it almost felt wrong to put those two together in a comparison. But it's by far the best Arkham City Batman outside of the Hot Toys one, and that's kind of a pretty high bar when you think about it. But it doesn't matter what We're not talking specifically about the quality. We're just talking about what you can do with this figure, and by far you can do a lot. Especially in comparison to other versions of this figure. It's really easy to play with him. He's sturdy. The parts that usually were prone to break on other versions of this figure, they're bendy and soft. So yeah, there's a lot of fun to be had with this figure. And you can see from the pictures, I had a ton of fun. And now for my favorite part, the bottom line. And you guys probably can already tell where I'm going with this. It's a really good figure, really good figure. Um, it's a solid, I don't know, B plus. You know, um, it would be an A figure if he had the double jointed elbows. The lack of that, and then the lack of the range of motion in his wrists, kind of screw things up. Had he had the proper full range of motion there, and then the double jointed elbows, and it would just make this a shoe-in for an A-class figure. But I mean, once again, it's a $20 figure in a world where figures smaller than him with less detail, less sculpted detail, less accessories, less everything cost $24 to $30. I mean, this is a no-brainer. If you like Batman, pick this up. Simple. If you're just one of those people who, there's certain, Batman figures that you're a fan of, this one is a no-brainer. It's Arkham City. If you love Arkham City, pick it up. There's really not too many areas in which this figure will let you down. So this has been my look at the McFarlane Arkham City Batman. It's a solid B, maybe a B plus effort. If you, like I said, if any of those things I just mentioned happen to, appeal to you, or if you fall into any of those camps, pick this figure up. Plain and simple. And that'll do it for me. My name is Strydent. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And that's it for me. You guys have been great. Peace outside. So, as many of you guys know, in November, we lost another titan of, our favorite industry, the entertainment industry, which is Kevin Conroy. Um, it's just weird because this is one of those people. Normally, I don't really give a shit about most celebrities and like the kind of, I don't know, the pedestal that people put them on. I like to watch movies, I like to watch animation, and certain performances work better than others. But Conroy's one of those performances, he's one of those actors who his performance stayed with us from when we were kids to now. I'm in my 40s, you know what I mean? The animated series came out in my pre-teens. I was like 13, something like that, 13, maybe 14 when that show first came out. I'm 43 now. His voice is the voice that plays in my head anytime I see Batman, even more so than Keaton. It's like few people actually really inhabit the roles that they play. You know what I mean? Few people get to hang out in that space, the character's mindset and etc. for as long as Conroy got to do it. And not only did he hang out in that space and play the character for a long time, but he got to explore all these different parts of the character's persona, his personality, his psyche, just about everything. We got to see him play Batman from a young boy all the way to his essentially his retirement, and in picking up and having a new person take on the mantle. I read a lot about Kevin Conroy. I never met him. He was always on my list of people I wanted to meet. But it's just weird how you feel like you kind of have a good grasp of what kind of person he is from hearing him in interviews, always insightful, and then hearing other people's accounts of him, especially Mark Hamill. They always say, dude was just warm. He was just a good person. And despite the stuff he himself, not Mark Hamill, but Kevin Conroy, talked about growing up as a closeted gay actor, just gay person, I should say. Forget the fact that acting is his profession. And the fact that there's parallels to leading a double life as Batman and then having that reality where you just can't be who you are because, at that time, and it's still to some degree now, but, at that time, society would treat you a certain kind of way. It sucks. And it's kind of awesome that he was able to put that frustration, that piece of his life into his performance. Now, it's just a role, it's a role that means a lot to a lot of us because we got to experience it through our most of our life, from our formative years to now. But it is just a role, and this is a testament to how amazing of an actor Kevin Conroy actually was, that through his voice performance alone, he was able to convey so much so effectively. I'm not going to go super long on things. My heart goes out to his family. We've lost a lot of people this year. My heart goes out to all of them. And my heart goes out to Kevin Conroy's family, all those families, of course, but Kevin Conroy's family. And, vaya con Dios.